We're back. Oh, we don't need to have this on anymore then. Okay, so Coach Talk number 4. We got some more cool stuff happening. I've got a slew of really cool questions here. I'm just going to dive right in. I was actually going to go to Walden Pond, which is one of my favorite places in the world, and I'm only a few minutes away from there, and I was going to do my video there, but the wind is like 30 or 40 mile an hour gusts, so I didn't want to get blown over, and you didn't want to hear all that wind. You wouldn't hear what I'm talking about. It would just be irritating. So I'm in my office. All right, one comes from a coach who asks, what are the first few calls like? What are my first few calls like with a client? So I'm going to not make too many assumptions, but just answer the questions as best I can. So oftentimes when people ask this question, they're asking, can you kick some butt right away? Do you go careful? Or do you try to back in? Do you try to develop a certain amount of relationship before you do this or that? So I'm going to answer that question, and I'm going to answer her question a little bit more just directly. So I'm not extra careful right away. I'm not, I just jump in and do my thing. I mean, I think 85% of coaching is just simply being with another human being. If you can be fully present with somebody, and the 15%, the rest of it is skills, well, there you go. If I know my role is to be with this person and help them change their lives or live their very best life, then go after it. Don't wait. I mean, I think that's half of what makes people mediocre coaches is they wait, they dabble, they take half the session to kind of warm up and finally get going. So don't wait. Don't wait till call number 3 or 22 or 2 months in or anything else. Just get rocking right away. That said, my first calls are just like any other call is, hey, John, what do you want to get coached on today? So, I mean, and we got to recognize John comes because, and he's written down, I want 1, 2, and 3 things to be achieved in our work together. And so I know that that's the case. So it's John, where are we starting today? And off we go. Hey, good to see you too, Kim. So off we go. And, he's going to start with his agenda. Now, of course, my job, I'm going to kind of riff a little bit here, that my job as a coach is to take this will be kind of like the foundational things that the client came for, the 1, 2, 3, 4 things that they came to coaching for, with, hey, what's your agenda today? Hey, look, I gotta get better at communicating to my spouse. Okay, great. Now, that may not be a direct, like one of the 4 things that he came for, but my work is to say, okay, great. You wanted to come for these things. How is that going to affect this? And to make sure that he does the work to tie it all in, because I'm happy to do that. But I know in 6 months, I don't want John showing up saying, hey, we didn't get the work done. So we've got to make sure that it's a conscious choice and that the little things that we're working on today tie back to this thing that he came for. That makes sense, right? All right. I got a comment here. I love it. If you don't want them to wait for their lives, we shouldn't wait as coaches. Amen. Amen, Edwin. There you go. Well said. Let me see if there's anything else to say with how I start my calls. Just go for it. Just jump right in and make it happen. Okay. So another question that came in today was, biggest mistakes coaches make when they start to build their business. Well, I think the first thing is it's a mindset. Coaches don't recognize that they are in a business. Our profession, if you're a coach watching, our profession is replete with good people who want to make a big difference in people's lives. That's great. And they have no experience in business. And I'm one of those people. Look, I came up in the trades. I used to be a set stone and pour concrete and plaster and all those things. It was a family business, but my expertise was not in the business. It was with using my hands and producing something that people wanted to pay for. And so when I started coaching, which I did simultaneously actually for some time until I became self-sufficient in the business of coaching, that is, it was a long road to learn to take myself seriously. I found 1,000 different ways to avoid actually doing the work that required to build my business. I remember at one point having to make a commitment that I will not eat or call eating a peanut butter bagel, slathered bagel, an attempt to eat protein to stimulate my body so that my mind could create and therefore I would do better in business. Like actually eating a peanut butter bagel at one point seemed like a good business technique. Right, I was scared. I was scared to develop my business. And so first and foremost is recognize you are in business and you've got to learn some things. You might need to get a mentor. A coach mentor is great, of course. Develop yourself as a better coach. You've got to be a great coach, period. Become good there. But find a mentor in business, no matter if it was in a different profession or not, to know about accounting, to know about how to handle some things and develop a strategy and to follow through on that strategy, et cetera, et cetera. That's one thing I would say. Biggest mistake coaches make when they start to build their business. It's that people spend a ton on websites. People will, get the business cards and the pens or do stuff that is very much secondary, tertiary, or beyond. What comes after tertiary? Does anybody know what comes after tertiary? All right. That really has nothing to do with building the business, but making themselves feel like they're doing something. And then guess what? When you go back to work at your jewelry store or back in the trades or whatever because your business failed, you can tell yourself, look, I got the website, I invested money, I tried this and that. And yeah, you did, but you didn't do the things that were really necessary and required to be effective in business. So take your business seriously, get the proper mentoring you need. I'm looking at our time. We got about 5 more minutes. I've got a couple questions that people queued up, and so I want to hit those as soon as possible, or as expediently as possible. Okay, so another one came through. The person was saying that they feel coaching is most powerful in person, and yet a lot of clients want to work over the phone. In fact, my wife, who's a coach, she was saying that she just did her first Skype session, video session, and she loved it. And I got a train that goes by my office. Hold on. This train goes, I'm in Concord, Massachusetts. See the train? All right. So got a train go right by my office here. All right. So if you hear all that noise, that's what's going on. You can do video, you can do telephone, you can do in person. My preference is, even if my next door neighbor called me, is to do over the phone for a number of reasons. And I'll go into that in a second. What I want to start, because I'm speaking probably essentially to coaches here, is the coaching exists because you exist as a coach. You've got to do what works for you, first and foremost. So do what works for you. What do you prefer? All right, now there's some different things to think about. Sometimes it's really nice to be with people and to connect and really look them in the eyes and have that sort of a deep connection that can happen when you've got a visual. Now, I'm actually mentoring a gal who's blind, who wasn't born blind. She became blind in her 20s. And I said to her the other day, I said, hey, I've heard blah, blah, blah. And, I shouldn't blah, blah, blah. You don't know what's going on in my mind. I've heard that people who go blind later in life, or even if it's, early in life, they have a heightened sense or heightened capacity with their other senses. And she said, no, it's not that. It's just that you have to become more aware. You just put a greater attention there. That was interesting for me, and it really shed a little more light on this conversation I think we're having, which is, hey, yeah, if you're in person, you've got the visual. That's great. It might be really important for you to create intimacy in that way. But when you're over the phone, you don't have that, and so, you need to listen more carefully. If you're easily distractible, do something that keeps you from being distracted, which could be close your eyes, it could be walk around or what have you. So a couple of thoughts for you there. The Skype thing. I've only used Skype a few times for coaching. I worked with a guy in Poland. I worked with somebody in Africa, the UK. That was over the phone. What I think I vetted out in all this was the guy in Poland. I think we really hit our mark, which was we'd talk for 5 or 10 minutes video so we could see each other and have a visual as we're walking around later, not seeing each other's faces. And that allowed us to, create a connection at multiple layers, and then to be able to just, put our headsets on and walk around and do our work without the visual. So, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I have lots of questions coming in. All right, let me see what I can do, because I want to answer questions that are here as they come up. Edwin had a good one, this analogy, building the business, tending to the particles, da-da-da-da. But what about the space? Is that a question, Edwin? What about the space? The vibe, like basically? Ask me a question really directly, because I'm having a hard time doing this and discerning exactly what you're intending. How did you step up and stop being busy, other than the peanut butter bagel? Well, guilt is a great impetus. I'm a big fan of guilt and shame and other such experiences. Those emotions should be impulses, not things that knock you out or take you out of the game. Those are impulses to get you to change. And so I did. I felt guilty, and then I became aware of, oh my gosh, I'm eating a bagel, I'm doing this and that, and then I realized, all right, what do I have to do? What do I have to do in order to be more effective if I'm going to provide for my family? And I started taking myself more seriously. So I think that was your question, Shivani. Yeah. So I just started taking myself more seriously. And I think there's a push and pull that goes on with, having a goal, having a very clear goal. I want this. I must have this, and doing some thinking and some writing about it. In fact, I'm doing a lot more with my clients around story and having something that pushes them and pulls them. That's sort of the pull. The push is, man, if you don't handle your stuff, what's going to happen? I'm going to go back to the trades. I'm going to go back to working at the jewelry store. I'm going to go back to doing whatever, which is not what I want. And so you've got that thing pushing you from behind as well as this thing pulling you from the front. I've been doing some writing by a guy who's just a clinical psychologist, but he's also studied he's deep in personality and neuroscience, and from his assessment is we've evolved over millions of years to avoid being eaten, and we work better with the negative than we're drawn by the possibility of things. And so, to really make sure we associate not only to the positive and the happy and all that stuff, which is what we like to do, but also make sure we're associating to the pain if we don't handle our stuff. Let's see. All right. Oh man, we're out of time, and I want to keep going. But what I'll do is I'll take the other questions that have come up here, and the last one left on Facebook here. I'm a little behind here, so I'll have to. I'm getting told no, don't stop. I got to stop for now.